Ellen, Bennington trustees, former presidents of Bennington, faculty, students, past and present, and representatives of colleges and universities everywhere. Thank you for your warm welcome. Thank you, Adam. The Williams-Bennington connection is long and rich, even if we don't play each other in football. May it continue to be so, and look out for our ultimate Frisbee. Thank you, Ellen. To be welcomed to the ranks of college presidents by an alumna, a mentor, and a friend. What could be better? Thank you, Stuart and Matthew. My family and I are thrilled to be part of your communities. Thank you, Michael Wimberly, Susie Ibarra, Bruce Williamson, and our student musicians, and Tamar Colley for kicking us off in style. Thank you, Michael Demanis, for capturing Bennington so beautifully. Thank you, alumnus Jonathan Lethem, all the way out there in Berlin, for throwing down the gauntlet in true Bennington fashion. And Will Larson, class of 2017, for giving it great voice. Every Bennington education begins with a question. My Bennington education did. My question is, why? Why Bennington? Why now? In 1932, with the eyes of educators everywhere upon them, Bennington College's founders invited the first faculty, staff, and students to join in what they called a higher education laboratory, a place where education is driven by the paired interests and mutually reinforcing engagements of teacher and student, where humanities, social sciences, science, and arts are intimately intertwined. Teachers here are practitioners, working at the very edge of new ideas. Students are researchers, collaborators, and scouts in uncharted territories, learning by doing, learning by making, every moment of every day. Faculty, students, and staff, I've learned, don't come to Bennington to get something. They come to Bennington to do something, to make something. Peter Drucker came here to learn through teaching what he needed to know in order to develop the theories that informed and inspired modern management. Later, he said of Bennington, I was given the freedom to teach whatever subjects I thought I needed learning in: political theory and American government, American history and economic history, philosophy and religion. Bennington, he said, was where he felt most truly at home. Alumna Megan Marshall, who 2 weeks ago won a Pulitzer Prize for her biography, Margaret Fuller, A New American Life, first encountered the subject of that biography in a class here with poet and faculty member Stephen Sandy. Donna Tartt, who won this year's Pulitzer Prize for fiction for her novel, The Goldfinch, began her first novel at Bennington. Yes, that's 2 Bennington alumni Pulitzers this year. This work takes more than inspiration. It takes persistence. It takes perseverance. It takes the kind of drive that can only come from inside. This drive does not come from the desire only to please others or to tick all the right boxes so that you can get a degree. Thriving within this community takes self-discipline and individual initiative. At the core of Bennington's philosophy are 2 fairly simple ideas: that the student can be at the center of his or her education, and that the college be at the center of the conversation shaping our world. The linkages between these 2 ideas are, in Bennington speak, our work. Of course, we talk about all of this as work, and it is, but somehow time and time again I've been told it doesn't feel like work. One alumnus explained, "I have never, for a minute, felt I was doing work. Everything I've done here has been an expression of who I am." This is the kind of work that people long to have. I see this every day now at the college, as Bennington students form connections and discover intersections new to them and new to the world. They build their lives around their work, and they do it in the best ways. They do it in the way we all seek to live our lives, where work and life are seamlessly, pleasurably intertwined. You love your work, and it feeds you. So you talk about it over dinner, in the houses, and late into the night, very, very late into the night. You talk about it when you return to campus every winter after 7 weeks working out in the world, in Guatemala, Sierra Leone, Brooklyn, or Alaska, whether it's your first fieldwork term or your fourth. The college's job, the college's work, is to kindle a spark, to help our students use it to illuminate our world in ways replete with wonder and grace, wisdom and beauty. Profoundly, personally, our efforts revolve around a search for perspective, the sweet spot that locates a body, a mind, a concept, a place, this place, that allows us to stand within the swirl of ideas and actually build a deeper understanding. Alumnus Mark Edmondson, class of 1974, once described what happens here as the archetypal Bennington project of becoming ever more insistently and complexly who you are. This archetypal Bennington project is, to my mind, the highest form of higher education. Our interwoven world requires something that is not quite captured in the words interdisciplinary education. It requires an approach that transcends disciplines. The intensity of the work takes real rigor. The demands of the questions and problems we face require new frameworks. Rigor, unbound by convention. For my part, I came to Bennington because I believe deeply in this institution's design and purpose. I am here to help lead this institution forward, to be sure. But among the many ideas that Bennington has infused in me, I know that leadership here depends first and foremost on listening and learning. I have spent my life listening and learning, studying institutional design, colonial institutions, international development organizations, technologically mediated communities, multinational corporations, governments, and yes, colleges and universities. How do institutions remain resonant? How do they succeed? How do they come to be as they are? In my own exploration, I've traveled to some 50 countries. For those of you who know me, you know that's not nearly enough. I have worked in state and federal government for nonprofits, intergovernmental organizations, companies, colleges and universities, and with groups of all sizes. I do not pretend to know the answers to my question, or even all the questions. But I do feel, through my research, my professional experience, and my deepest intuition, that Bennington is doing something that is far bigger than this pocket utopia. I sensed it from my first interview when I was asked by the board, "What of yourself do you see of Bennington and Bennington in you?" This expectation, almost a demand, that one's relationship with this community be deeply symbiotic. For me, but for everyone who touches this place, this idea grabbed hold of me. It is a place where you give as much as you receive. Education here is a reciprocal affair. In today's national conversation about higher education, we talk a lot about how you get in, how you make the right student-college match, how you pay for it. We talk about what happens after you graduate, and these are important issues, essential issues, to be sure. At the same time, we should be engaging in deeper conversations about what happens while you are with us, how we support, encourage, call forth the best, the most surprising work from our students, how we help them to uncover the path that they will want to follow when they leave, how we help them become not just leaders, but stewards of their own lives, of their communities, of the planet, of our future. We no longer live in a world of single careers, lifelong employment, of company men and corporate pensions. Our world requires us to make and remake new rules, new roles, constantly. And we wouldn't want it any other way. It is how Bennington College has been engaging our students to approach life for more than 80 years. This world is made for Bennington, and a Bennington education is made for this world. Life has never been lockstep or linear, but we human beings create institutions to try to make it so. Life plans, secure lifelong employment, predictable social environments, stable hierarchies. Humans are ever seeking to capture the complexity of the world and bind it into little boxes. In this world of boxes, we find so-called modern man. But modernity is now struggling, slogging through complexity that cannot be boxed up. Maybe this is not such a bad thing. I would argue that the lives so many have long tried to live, all boxed up, have not brought our global community to our best selves. A mentor of mine has often said, if we think the world today is perfect, just as we want it to be, then by all means we should absolutely continue to replicate the dominant institutions and ways of the past. But if we want change, if we want progress, if we want fundamental shifts and improvements in the human experience and the state of the planet as well, then we need to require our institutions to advance and even break course and take on new, as yet never realized, or even yet unimagined directions. New boxes, or maybe no boxes. We face this challenge at a time when there is an unprecedented questioning in the public conversation about the value of college. The evidence is clear. We know that on virtually every measure of economic well-being and career attainment, from personal earnings to job satisfaction to the share employed full-time, college graduates are outperforming those with less education. Moreover, when today's young adults are compared with previous generations, the disparity in economic outcomes between college graduates and those with a high school diploma or less has never been greater. But this is not the whole story. Education must be a creative process, not a consumer product. And education, especially at Bennington, is very much about the individual, his experience, her process, the path, or as we call it, the plan. And yet education is and must be about something bigger, too. It's about the biggest thing. It's about what kind of world we want to make. Higher education institutions in the United States are a linchpin for societal formation, a vital point of intervention, and we have the most envied higher education system in the world. And yet the reason it is so valuable and valued is because, in fact, it is not a system, it is a form of ecosystem, drawing its strength, at least in part, from its institutional diversity. Meanwhile, today's national conversation about education flattens that notion, and we run the great risk, the very grave risk, of driving to someone's idea of versions of a single kind of institution, one better, one worse, rather than embracing and enhancing the great landscape of possibility and human endeavor. Whom we let in to these hallowed halls, libraries, classrooms, and studios is an issue of great consequence. Since these decisions, like it or not, do help determine who gets to lead, whose ideas get noticed or funded, and who holds power. Our obligations, therefore, are immense. But it is about even more than those who go to college and what they gain, about more than the social mobility of those with the opportunity to attend college, though that is a lot. It is about more even than the transmission of existing knowledge. Our obligation, at its best, is about generating, together between teacher and student, new ways of knowing, thinking, and doing. New ways of seeing, listening, and being. Our obligation is about new ways to conceptualize the world and new ways to participate in it, new ways to imagine it, to shape it, to make it. That's why I came to Bennington. The ideas that constitute a college, its culture, its practices, its institutional design, and its history are even more important, therefore, than they may first seem. And they seem pretty important already. We must live our values. So now, we must ask of Bennington College what we ask of our students every day. Develop your voice, maybe even to a roar. Sing out, speak up, dance. Show us what you're made of. Show us who you are. And we must ask this of each other, of ourselves. We must become increasingly interconnected with all of our communities, from the town of Bennington and the village of North Bennington to New York City, Los Angeles, and everywhere in between, and abroad. For our students and faculty from Senegal to Sri Lanka, from Nigeria to Norway, from Pakistan to Paris and India, Australia, and beyond. We will build on the partnerships we have and forge new ones. Beyond the gates with the wonderful museums, schools, and communities right in our neighborhood and around the globe. Now, more than ever, we must bring Bennington to the world and the world to Bennington. We will nurture and connect as ever more of a community. Alumni already work together across industries and across the years. Just ask Peter Dinklage or read about it in Esquire. But it is time for the college to engage alumni more broadly and more directly. And we need those who understand the power of this place to be with us in shaping its future, as collaborators, as thought partners, as supporters. We will be more accessible. If we believe in this work, we must increase access to the Bennington way of problem solving and generating new ideas. No student who is ready for Bennington, who is ripe for Bennington, who needs Bennington, should be left at the gate for lack of funds. We will find or create technological platforms that support the rich, individual, and ever-changing nature of our work and the work of our faculty and students. Alumnus David Ziccarelli developed Max, one of the most widely used electronic music programming languages in the world. He did this with his heart set on recapturing a sound he heard in this very room. Just last week, he returned to hear today's students create their own auditory experiences with the tools that Bennington inspired. And as always, let's remember that this work is hard, and we need to be kind, generous, and supportive of ourselves and of our community. Progress demands patience equal to passion. This is Bennington, becoming ever more insistently and complexly who we really are. Which brings me back to my question. Why? Why Bennington? Why now? Because today, more than ever, the world needs institutions that match its creative restlessness, that embrace the complexity and diversity of our planet, and that are focused not just on the final shape of what the institution itself wants to be, but on the hope for the way our future can be. And this has been true from our noble beginning, as expressed in our own traditional commencement statement. Bennington regards education as a sensual and ethical, no less than an intellectual process. It seeks to liberate and nurture the individuality, the creative intelligence, and the ethical and aesthetic sensibility of its students, to the end that their richly varied natural endowments will be directed towards self-fulfillment and constructive social purposes. 53 words, 336 characters for those of you who might be tweeting today. Together, they capture the ideals and expanse of what we do here. We know who we are. We know why we are here. Now it's time to show the world anew. Thank you.